Hey everybody, welcome to episode 59, I think, of Tactical Crouch. We're a competitive Overwatch podcast. Big week in Overwatch this week. Overwatch 2 announced, Overwatch World Cup in the books. Only like 30 to 35 signings in the last week, so I think we'll be good on that front. And yeah, it's getting a little hard to keep up with, is something that I have found. But welcome to the show anyway. With me, of course, I'm KickedTripod, Tactical Crouch, Yiska, and Volamel. Joe, you're looking good, man. No con play.
Thank
for
you. Well, I wouldn't, let's not count our chickens before they hatch. Definitely run down. I had to wake up. I think I went to bed at 2 a.m. on Saturday night. So like Sunday morning, technically. And then had to get up 4 a.m. for my flight, or the travel to get to my flight at LAX, because I didn't want to get stuck in any kind of like early morning traffic. So yeah, not doing so hot on the sleep, but for the last like 2 days, I've been basically sleeping all day. So we're fighting whatever may. We're setting up the barricades. Were there really no
flights from John Wayne?
I don't fly often, so I was just like, LAX it is. Boom,
John Wayne,
done.
dude.
Everybody's like,
I'm gonna say next year. John
next
Wayne.
year?
Yeah,
Okay.
Orange County, John Wayne.
Do.
Trust me. There's one scary part. I hate flying. And there's one part about flying into John Wayne is there's a noise ordinance that's like super restrictive. So basically, as you're kind of flying in, they basically just cut the engines and you just start dropping. It's like a roller coaster ride.
Oh, very fun. Yeah, let's just cut the engines.
Yeah, it's just like bang.
That sounds terrifying, actually.
And it's not so bad going in, but going out, it's the same thing. So you're going up at like whatever this 45-degree angle.
Sure.
And all of a sudden you're just like,
yeah, that's very weird.
Coasting in.
I don't know about that one.
But it'll save you about 25 minutes on your drive. So
I don't know.
All right, fair enough.
We'll see.
Yiska, we had to keep everything under control online.
Hold it down.
A couple of stay-at-home dads.
Yep.
Keeping everything going.
Taking care of myself.
Like we do so well. Did you have the virtual ticket this year, Yiska?
Hell no.
Hell no, he said. Hell no.
Actual scam.
I feel
you're trying to get in that Warcraft 3 beta?
No.
You guys aren't in it?
No, not yet.
Oh.
I mean, I'm supposed to be because I was there.
We'll talk after the show. Yeah, I got
very
it.
Nice.
Yeah. You guys are big time Blizzard shill podcasters now.
Big time.
Damn.
Big time. So
I won't.
As long as we keep
I'm just kidding. Try me.
As long as we keep shilling for Blizzard as we always do. We're always so easy on them on this show.
Oh yeah.
Overwatch World Cup, by the way, just keeps getting better and better. More and more relevant.
Choke on it.
Yeah, so not really. But yeah, tons to talk about. We're going to jump right in. Before we do, thank you so much to our patrons, our Patreon producers. I haven't updated this week. So Battle Crab Maiden, Peter Y, whether you are producers or not, we're thanking you again this week. Thanks for being producers at some point. If you like the show, go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch or sub on Twitch, twitch.tv/KickedTripod. Those are the two best ways to support the show. We really appreciate it. We love you guys. Let's get into what's been going on. Overwatch 2 announced. Nobody saw it coming. Here's the highlights.
Never.
Brand new in-game graphics engine. New hero announced, Sojourn, along with Echo, actually. So, and we'll talk about some of the nuances there. PvE has been famously leaked. New PvP mode called Push. Current Overwatch players will keep their skins, player icons, sprays, and emotes. Current Overwatch players will play against Overwatch 2 players in PvP. In short, Overwatch 1 players simply don't get the PvE content. That's what you lose. No pricing, no release date. As far as I could see, of course, our chat, who has the biggest brains in the world, will tell us what we missed. So we expect to come for that to kind of go. But we talked a little bit about what we expect Overwatch 2 to be last week, and ultimately I feel like it's pretty on par with what we expected, and kind of on par with what we felt like they needed to be in order to like justify it, right? We had a long conversation in Discord and stuff about justifying the 2 moniker, and I think overall people just kind of agree that it kind of just feels like a really big patch.
Yeah.
It's like
the fact that it's like backwards compatible in terms of like competitive like PvP modes is a little weird. The fact that we don't really have like a release date or a price point or any other like weird like changes. Like I think we've gotten the meat and potatoes of it, but I think it really is going to come down to the details and what these heroes are going to be like and when they're going to be released. So it's fine. I don't know. It's still a little weird, kind of on its face.
Yeah, I would say like I think this is where I start to give my 5 caveats before I tell you what I actually think. But
Sure.
I think it's very admirable.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Go ahead. We're ready.
I think it's admirable that they won't have us pay for basically Overwatch 1 content again. I think like when looked at with some distance, it is actually I think it was a Kotaku piece where they talked about that process of pitching that to higher ups, like
executives and whatnot.
Okay, so we actually don't want money from that player base there. Like, okay, like that's certainly an admirable feature.
Sure.
I also think that we still like the problem really is probably that the messaging suffered a lot from the leaks, then the disgruntlement with the leaks. I think they could have done a way better job in managing our expectations, because like when I look at what I saw at BlizzCon, I'm utterly disappointed at what I was able to see. Like none of that was engaging. Like the PvE, there are probably a handful of games that do it better than Overwatch in that PvE mode did. That exact content. I
feel like it was very early. Like even I felt like it felt, because you basically go from like this really cool. So have you guys ever played Halo, like the original Halo 1 and honestly even Halo 2 to an extent? Yiska, have you?
Yeah.
So no. a lot of the PvE stuff is like going from corridor to corridor of like slightly different rooms and then just defeating waves of enemies and then going to the next one.
Sure.
It felt very, and there's an aspect of that is like true of all PvE games, but they just hide it better. And like you start out in the PvE campaign thing, like really cool. You're on the streets of Paris and kind of going through, and like the voice lines and stuff feel really great and fluid. There's a story going, and then all of a sudden you jump up into an Omnic ship or whatever. And then you're just hopping from room to room and doing like the same old. I mean, you've all played Destiny too. It's like, I'm a computer. I need 35 seconds or 3 waves of enemies to decode this. And it felt very that for me. I have faith that this is like really early PvE stuff. And so we kind of just got like skinned rooms with waves of enemies. So you can more see the gameplay part, which seems to be largely finished. And I'm holding out hope for a better, like more engrossing dialogue, telling a more important story rather than this is just a big ship and big ships are really dangerous to human cities. You know, guys?
Yeah.
And so I have faith that we just saw some really like early alpha kind of stuff where like, do you guys remember the Overwatch 1 gameplay trailer? Like, didn't Reaper have like they weren't actually big shotguns in the actual initial gameplay thing. They were like almost like tracer
been,
guns and something like that. Like
Mhm.
it was just very much like this is very conceptual of what you can experience, but it's we're not showing everything here. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I had that
Maybe.
level of disappointment too, but we didn't even get a release date, right?
No release date, no price point, nothing. Just like, hey guys, we're gonna do some story mode, and there's this weird new PvP thing.
Yeah.
2 years maybe.
And that's also the thing. Like, I think they should have much more clearly said. And to me, the biggest issue was actually the gameplay. Like, you get Overwatch gameplay, okay, against PvE mobs, okay. And then you have like 2 customization options. You can choose like what kind of an item you pick up, and those have like qualities.
Yeah.
That's like a side point in other games in terms of character customization. And then you have the skill selections, and there's only like very limited
There's
amount
3
of
tiers of 2 in each tier, and
Heroes of the
did
Storm
cool.
style. I like it.
Very much
that
so,
game
very
was
much so.
a big hit, if I remember, for Blizzard, and definitely not bundled with the arcade for Warcraft 3 Remastered.
Yeah, and that's like 2 systems that should ideally be like 20 different ways to customize
Like
your
more
character
of like a
in some sense.
Diablo type thing.
For instance, like, you know, in Diablo, you have like the stats, and then you have the skills, and then you have the sets, and then you have the ancients, and then you have like the different characters. And by the way, like didn't look like you could choose outside those 4 either. So you didn't have any strategical. I mean, makes sense from a storytelling perspective.
Right.
Like, you want these 4 characters to be there, but still, like, it felt all of it felt very limited and really not that engaging from also watching the streams. It also came off in the energy of the streamers, I have to say, at least the ones I was watching. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but they were sort of like, wait, we gotta play this again? We gotta
Can we go play multiplayer? Can we go play some
we
PvP?
want to play that
Push or something?
PvP thing.
Yeah, because they played the same mission on like 4 different difficulties, and they're like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
And
then,
from my understanding, it was like very short, and it was just like, oh, okay, that's it.
I mean, it took like
All
I
right,
would say
very
it took
cool.
them like 30 minutes to go through. Like, it wasn't like.
yeah.
I mean, in like games, that's probably about as far as you can go from like major checkpoints, right? Go much longer, and you just like you lose.
Yeah,
a
of course, you lose it.
Yeah, but I totally agree. I totally saw this. Streamers are just. It wasn't so much that they were like disappointed, like, oh, this isn't good content or whatever. It's just like it was very limited in the scope that it actually was.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the clip that was circulating of XQC watching like an edited trailer, and then like Tracer saying, "Does that mean Overwatch is back?" And XQC just going, "No." then also Winston going, "No." So it's like, also the PvP changes, let's be honest. Like, I was hoping for announcement at least of that they are considering tinkering around with the formula, because I'm personally still convinced we haven't found the formula that makes Overwatch super fun and engaging, and a game that could be played in 20 years, much like CS or the MOBA market, right? Even the BRs.
They can't majorly tinker with the formula.
They
They have a
whatever.
$500 million league.
Yeah, you
based
do
on
that
the
after
formula.
the season.
Yeah, at postseason, you just release your brand new game and you just move to that.
I mean, of course, it would
Not gonna
entirely
That's
change.
4 or 5 months? Are you kidding me?
I mean, that's I thought they maybe cut the season short for that reason this next year.
Sure.
I agree with you. I don't think that we have the best, purest iteration of Overwatch. But I think that we're beyond the point of making real big fundamental gameplay changes outside of adding. Like, I could totally see, we talked about this before the show. What does it look like to kill a character off? What does it look like to, obviously add new game modes? But
But that's the difference, right? Between a DLC and Overwatch 2.
Yeah.
I think that name implies that we're changing things up. And
Core changes,
there seems to be, it should be a major opportunity. Like if not now, then we're not doing it again for another 5 years.
For
right?
me, the name implies, hey guys, I know you guys got kind of sick of Overwatch 1, but you kind of liked it, but you got kind of sick of it overall. Overwatch 2! It's the best of what you liked, and no more of the stuff you hated. Come on by, and hey, you get it for free.
I will tell you, if I put on the sexiest clothing in the world, you still wouldn't find me attractive when I'm half naked, my dude. Like, just not how it works. You can't dress up fat German round cubes.
I don't know. I think that we could probably do a whole show just on Overwatch 2, and I think that we probably will. These are definitely still initial reactions. We definitely we don't know if they are making some larger changes to PvP that they just haven't announced yet.
100%.
I would bet 95% no.
Yeah. Very much probably not.
I would bet a Fusion versus LA Valiant no. About 95.5. But besides that, like, I don't know, it's better than nothing, right? Like, while this isn't the step that we want necessarily, that we feel like is gonna like save Overwatch or make it the new battle royale genre or whatever you want to say, like, at the most we get some cool graphical updates and some UI updates that I would say overall people seemed pretty high on.
Yeah, it's fine. Looks
nice.
Different.
You know, and at the worst, you have a new PvE mode that brings players back, and hopefully some of them latch on to, oh, competitive mode is fun. I like this team from Los Angeles or Philadelphia or whatever, and I'm going to start watching esports, and I'm going to start listening to Tactical Crouch. Jesus, Yiska.
At all.
My God.
At all.
I lost one.
So any more thoughts on Overwatch 2? I don't want to spend too much time on it. We're already so late today.
Yeah. I think in general it's like a mild kind of a disappointment. Hopefully this is just early kind of alpha footage, like you said. I'm still not sold on that, but we'll have to see. I've always been a big proponent of the PvE kind of story element, kind of building out the base of the game and trying to filter people up. But it's that execution that we need to kind of iron out and work on. But all in all, like a 4 out of 10 kind of announcement. The cinematic was cool. The PvE stuff's interesting to a certain degree. New heroes on the horizon, which is always exciting. Push is weird, but all in all,
I love the concept of it.
I think it's
really cool. I think it makes some of, like, I feel like it makes,
with a couple changes, I could like it. Right now, I don't like it.
I
personally think that, like, do you guys think that payload in overtime is exciting or bad?
Payload in overtime.
Exciting.
Yeah,
it can be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Now you always have payload in overtime.
Why?
Okay, so let's talk about push. Let's pivot to push.
Oh,
let's talk about push.
But by the way, real quick to
go ahead.
Finish the stopping on a high load. I think the reason why I'm not super doom and gloom on this is because Blizzard notoriously nails PvE in their games, if we're being honest. Like, it's true in World of Warcraft, they have some of the best PvE and have had historically and have been delivering at least a solid and fun experience. And the same is true, honestly, for me also in the Diablo series and the single player campaigns. Even I would even say the commander mode in StarCraft is also entertaining. Like, I cannot see it remaining a 4 out of 10. It will at the very least become a 6 or 7 out of 10,
exactly.
and then we will see.
Hopefully that's like the highest I see it going. If it supersedes expectations, then that's, again, like super awesome. I don't see it happening, but I think once we get more information, once we see more characters, more modes, more difficulties, maybe, I'm still kind of like holding out for like some sort of raid content where like 10 of your friends go up against this weird boss and you get to choose your composition, and like, that would be super cool. I'd be cool. Like, very much so, like Titan. Yeah,
I honestly feel like there's a shot of in the game where they're all standing around a map.
Yeah,
in like it
Like,
looks
and you have
like
to pick
Watchpoint
where you go to.
Gibraltar, like the map
Yeah.
room there. I'm like
Mhm.
that might just be straight out of Titan.
Yeah, I'm honestly, it might be.
I
That
feel
whole
like it might be.
technology just ripped.
So yeah, we're not selling the farm yet. We're also not going and playing Paladins anytime soon,
No.
or
No.
making a Paladins podcast. So don't worry.
God, no.
Overwatch is not gone yet, but this is not like this is not enough for like the full rebounding moment of like, yes, they get it, they understand, blah blah blah. Project A, can go get there's none of that. So, but again, like overall positive. They didn't do anything I feel like wrong with the game.
Nothing in the wrong direction.
I don't think anything went. Yeah, exactly. I don't think anything went in the wrong direction. We just still have opinions about ways they could have gone more in the right direction.
Yes.
Also, what we also learned is just like sure, right?
Yeah.
Did I do that right?
Definitely slasher. Of course.
Like
you can't not slasher.
Like he actually, I think, legitimately, that destroyed a lot of expectations, right? For the announcement of Overwatch 2. Like, okay, knowing that Overwatch 2 is coming based on the first Kotaku piece, like 6 months ago, that's not a problem, right? A problem is getting all the basically
artwork,
whatever Jeb Kaplan wanted to say, like that
teleprompter.
It has,
yeah.
Worse messaging because like they don't care about the framing or the wrapping. They just want to get the info out and get the money. And like honestly, at this point, I'll just like unless it resolves something, leaking is theft, and that's theft.
I come from one of the most secretive companies in the world. I spent 6 years at Apple, right? And like company culture and secrecy is really important. And in the games world, I would say Blizzard is probably at close to, if not at the top of the list for that level of secrecy as well. Maybe like Half-Life 3 or whatever, right? Like, that's the next one. But like that's a really important piece. And believe it or not, whether it's logically makes sense or not, people hold your ability to make a secret or hold a secret and keep a secret in your team directly to the quality of the product. Like if a new iPhone was leaked 2 months in advance, regardless on you all of a sudden have lifted the benchmark to being greater than the leak, right? So it's like, cool, when you announce this, I better get something else because I already know what it is now, kind of thing. Like they better have something else different or better. And so I don't know. I don't. I agree. I want to know the leaks. Like, do you guys not want to know things ahead of time?
Sure.
Like we like knowing stuff. We like knowing when
knowing things is fun.
We like knowing when transfers are coming out early or when something else is coming out early and whatever. But Yiska, you're breathing into that.
I don't hate it myself, but
you're breathing into that mic a little bit, Yiska.
I'd also like to shoot several people, but that doesn't mean I should be allowed to.
Yeah, well, and so it's one thing to receive the leak. It's another thing to then like pass it forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let's not talk about the person that actually leaked this. Like, I don't know. Like if that is an or internal source within that team, what a wretch.
Well, it's tough. Like honestly, people think like and it probably was within like the small Overwatch 2 team or whatever, and the need to know people. But then you start having to like partner with retailers and partner with digital strategy people. You have to start partnering with web developers. You have to start developing with web hosts. You have to start developing it's. Blizzard probably is as close to owning the end-to-end process as just about any other gaming company in the world, but there's still third parties involved. And so I don't want to say it's like it wouldn't be correct with the information we know to just say it was someone from Blizzard who leaked it. But it's also not correct to say that it was, some sort of contractor or third-party partner either.
Sure.
Yeah. The thing is, like, just about the only argument I found for it being okay to do that is if you otherwise could not afford a career that would allow you to actually resolve the issues in the industry, such as, I don't know, like sexual misconduct behind the scenes, like in Riot Games, right?
Mhm.
Or like mistreatment of X group or whatever. If therefore, like if you publish that article and then your editor gets off your back and can work on the actual important stuff, it sort of at least can feel like Robin Hood, right? If all you ever do is basically funnel value out of a scene into your pocket and then you never resolve anything, I don't know, you're a leech. And like,
Barnacle.
I also think you probably should just half time it then and do something else with your time and do or ask Fox News for more of a salary for appearing there.
Wow.
Wow, wouldn't call
Take
out
it.
the specific leakers, but we'll call out Fox News. There it is. All right.
Sure.
I
enough.
don't want to talk
Fair
about
enough.
Overwatch 2 anymore. We have way too much to talk about. We will, as new information comes out with Overwatch 2, we'll probably have more meaningful discussions
Yeah, of
about
course.
it. But right now, hopefully you've got the thoughts from it and the details.
Yep.
Overwatch World Cup has come to an end. And what a glorious weekend it was for the red, white, and blue. That's not France. That's America. The true red, true white, and true blue. Team USA wins their first Overwatch World Cup. Team China in second. Team South Korea in third. Team France in fourth. Sinatra pulling away the T-Mobile MVP. And Yiska, this is a question for you. Why are USA? I've purposely I want to say this. I purposely worded the question this way. Why are the United States of America the best region in the world?
Because you waged war against every contending country at some point and gave them an inherent disadvantage.
Oh man.
Oh man. Yiska was so angry during the whole thing. By the way, we've got a great national anthem. At least, everything's aside, how do people in Europe feel about just like the musicality of the United States national anthem? Good? Not good?
Indifferent, probably.
I feel like there have been enough missteps with that in recent years. I remind you of Fergie, singing that, or like
Somehow that I don't know why that like retains space in your mental like bandwidth that you have to remember her botching like the entire thing. I think
I could tell you, but
I think most
then
people
we would
have
not have to
pretty
make
much
it
forgotten
PG-13.
that. Jeez.
My favorite thing is national anthem singers at hockey games. There's basically like 5 every season of people slipping on ice on their way in or out. But we blame Canada for that one.
Yeah.
So, not our fault. Not our fault. Anyways, Team USA does clinch their first Overwatch World Cup. So naturally, this was the most important Overwatch World Cup to date. I think it's pretty safe to say, unequivocally, without any sort of debate or argument
Easily the best.
from anybody.
Nope.
Ever. Jesus, Yiska, like,
He's just so apathetic. It doesn't even matter.
all right. Anyways, since Yiska,
I'm immune to patriotism.
All we know.
so let's talk about something that Yiska seems to have no problem to go on for hours about. Team South Korea does finish third, lose to France, lose to USA twice, once in groups and once in playoffs. We got a pretty, I would say, pretty insightful interview from Krusty about kind of why Team South Korea underperformed. And so I want to hear from you, and I want you to start making excuses for Team South Korea's underperformance.
I would say this. I've seen this exact sentiment that Krusty provided in the German statement. They were also saying the conditions were very bad. They didn't have a practice environment.
Nope.
Like we still had to pay our way out there, single elimination. Like it doesn't feel good competing in that environment. And I don't like. You could definitely argue that for one, I mean, USA is carried by the fact that it happens on a USA ground, and
Sure.
probably there's no shortage of sponsors in that regard.
Amen.
But also because like
Amen.
the GMs probably did a good job anticipating just that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And still, when I hear that a team that was directly invited to the Overwatch World Cup still has to pay $10,000 out of pocket to have that experience, it's
pretty rough.
It's not good.
Not good. Oh boy, no.
I hope that next year we just have like a multi-millionaire just gives the finger to Blizzard and just like sponsors all the teams. Like, here's $10,000 for 8
Just an angel investor. It's just like,
yeah, whatever. Put my name on your jersey. Oh wait, you can't, because Blizzard makes you wear the official jerseys anyway, and you can't even on the Overwatch League stage walk out with your jerseys with the people who actually helped you get there. Instead, you've got Coca-Cola and Logitech,
who didn't do anything for you, really,
who paid Blizzard. Oh my God, that Team Ireland, like I that resonated with me a little bit. I didn't even put this in the notes, but without knowing too much about both sides, I'm pretty pissed off about it. Like, hey, go find sponsors. Here's all the things that you can do. Oh yeah, by the way, you can only wear this jersey out on the walkout. So yeah.
Those jerseys, man.
They were so ugly too. Those jerseys were.
They were not great jerseys.
God.
Surprise!
I like to usually buy like a World Cup jersey. Like I'll buy a South Korea, maybe a China, one from US, maybe. And wouldn't buy any of them.
You literally have a South Korea and China jersey behind you, but are those not Overwatch? Are those not Overwatch jerseys?
Yeah.
Oh, they are.
I would usually, but
two things.
This was garbage.
We actually bullied Joe into getting some sort of decoration for his room, which
nice. It's true, Joe.
Big ups to us.
You did.
Well done.
It's way better than the root lamp in Yiska's room that decorates his walls.
Disagree.
You're wrong.
But let's also not forget that Joe, the cat shirt wearing cave troll, just said that these were too ugly for him to wear. Like, or
I just didn't like them.
Possess.
Didn't like them. They were ugly.
That is
not enough.
Jesus Christ!
The cat shirts are ironic. They're ironic humor. These were just ugly.
Not enough bed comforter attributes.
Yeah, not enough plaid, no flannel to it. You know, it's just not my aesthetic.
I would love for like Canada to just come out with like a lumberjack flannel jersey.
Why not? Why not just allow
Maybe
them
for
just
like
to
the
do
Toronto homestand they do that.
I think you can make it work. Not to.
I think you can make it work.
All
right. Anyways, so South Korea basically, yeah, there's a lot of things going on just behind the scenes that made it really difficult for South Korea. But one thing that I found really interesting from Krusty's comments was how the teams that they had access to scrim were, double DPS. They weren't running a lot of Bastion comps, May Reaper comps. So it was really difficult to actually come up with effective strategies against basically what everybody else was using at World Cup. But also, why? Play something different, team. I don't know. Like, is that not how? Did. Well, no. The teams that are scrimming against South Korea, like, can you not? Can you not just be like, hey, bros, we need to practice against this?
That's the weird part about
for the homeland.
Like, from my understanding,
that's actually weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily always work that way.
Yeah,
because it's like
it's still weird. You would have thought that with the Korean mafia and everything, like that they would have actually like tried everything, because also these contenders players need to understand the reputation of their season as their region carries at least a little bit weight into their own outcomes of like getting there. And then let's not forget like teams you scrim against, like if an Overwatch League player, especially one of the lead ones that were on Team Korea, just say, okay, this kid actually really surprised me, and then the coaching staff says as well, goes a long way, dude. Like, just do what you're told or what you're required to. I don't know. 100%. You're not there to look pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, like excuses aside, they were very clearly like not on form. I know that, I think it was IDK came out and said like he was pretty ill. Like it was very obvious, like when he was on stage, just constantly like, itching at his nose and whatnot. But all in all, yeah, wasn't the best performance from South Korea at all. I thought it was very like uncoordinated. A lot of just very strange compositions, a lot of stubbornness to kind of force them to, or trying to force a composition to work where it just kind of wasn't. A lot of Choi on Hog, which was a little weird to see. It made sense, but just wasn't working. It just was not getting its stride, and yeah, wasn't great. Wasn't great from South Korea.
Yeah.
Let's talk about two teams though that did make it or narrowly miss the top four. France and Denmark both finished quite high. And outside, so Team China. So cool thing about Team China is they all had Chinese players playing on Chinese Overwatch League rosters, which was pretty cool. So because I think there's other Chinese players on non-Chinese rosters, right? Or am I imagining that?
I mean, Crystal and Gusha are on Spark.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I think
it's
just
never mind. It's not that cool of a factoid.
Sorry. Almost. Maybe next year. We'll see.
So good at this. I think I found a cool note.
Almost.
Where's China on the map?
We went over this last week, didn't we?
Between North Korea and South Korea, right? Between in the sandwich.
Right in that border.
Right in the sandwich. Japan in the middle, like a island of land.
Isn't it next to Australia?
It's like think of it as of like an egg on top of a ribeye. You see the ribeye on top, North Korea and South Korea. China's the egg, and South Korea is the yolk.
Gotcha.
Right.
Next question.
Shouldn't North Korea just be the shell?
For a ribeye, you don't have. There's no
like
shells on a
thin
ribeye.
Oh, I thought we were talking about an egg.
No. Have you ever had a ribeye steak with an egg on top?
No. I will also say.
Let me tell you about an amazing breakfast here in the United States of America.
Wait, a breakfast is getting more disgusting by the minute.
No. Okay. Anyways, we're
now fish sticks with
go
like mirrored egg.
Get out of potatoes. Here. Next question, please.
Did the people of Holland invent hollandaise sauce?
I think so. No, was it French people?
Right?
Who knows?
Because I love an Eggs Benedict. It's my favorite morning meal. Oh my god!
Really? I feel like that's too heavy again. I don't know.
Look who you're talking to. Okay. Okay. Anyways, France and Denmark, a lot of talent in contenders, and yet did very well in Overwatch World Cup. Are any of these guys on either of these teams immediate candidates for potentially Overwatch League teams? So let's talk about France first. You have Soon and Hip, who are both on the Eternal. But then you've got Leaf, Hardest, Tech 36, Chubbs, FD God. Like, I feel like I've heard you say Leaf before.
Yeah, Leaf's very good. I think he's a little bit more. I think he's good in like a way that like hydration can be very good. If you put him on specific heroes in specific metas, he can be a strong, above average carry for your team. Outside of that, he has like a lot of flexibility to play some odd heroes and pick them up pretty quickly. But probably won't be the primary like damage dealing force. You're not going to necessarily see him just come out and have hero plays on heroes he's not necessarily comfortable with, but super good player, mental's all there, and solid guy. Solid pickup. FD God also heard very good things about. Soon, obviously. I think France in general definitely surprised me. I didn't think that this roster was going to do as well as they did, and they definitely
is this more of a European super team than Paris?
No, please, no more super teams, please, no super team talk. As fanboy triggering as it might be.
My question is, would you rather have Paris Eternal season 1 or season 2 technically, or would you rather have Team France on your Overwatch League roster?
I think Destiny 2. That's the joke nobody will get.
I think they're kind of almost similar. That's a really hard question.
Wow.
No, not super teams at all.
Bottom 4 teams.
I think maybe like season 1 Eternal by like a small edge. And I think that probably just comes from the fact that I don't know enough of like the tank line all that well. I wasn't super impressed. Hip obviously has been on the Eternal, so same with Soon. I think the only real difference is like Leaf and Hardest. And I don't think that's enough. But
okay,
we'll see. I don't know.
Let's talk about Denmark. So you've got Shax and Kelix on there, and then you've got Fisher, Naga, Molfig, Henningsen. And Scalar. Is this any of these? I saw a lot of Fisher. I saw a lot of people high on Fisher, and I'm only 30% not convinced that it's not because it sounds like Fissure and they're just totally talking about the other the other tank. But besides that fact, any standouts here?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I saw like a game from Denmark. I can probably assume that Molfig was good. Shaq seemed I can imagine
Shaq's
he did well.
off, dude.
Yeah.
He
usually does very well. I'm sure Fisher did okay for himself.
Hope he gets an Overwatch League team.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the one that I would say definitely need some eyes on is probably Molfig. But yeah, that comes with very limited info.
Yeah. Just give me a sec.
Hey, you're good. Hi, chat.
Which team do you think would benefit from like a player like Shax? Like which Overwatch League team should he?
I think he's fine on Valiant, right?
Oh, okay. You got it. Right.
Were you just gonna like try and debate me like I wasn't gonna like?
You just let it slide the first time, so I assumed you.
I figured it was just like a misstep. I thought you were just like
Super wasn't it? Like the in joke is
yeah.
For those that haven't seen it, and also for you, is that like Super was asked which player from Denmark would be like should be in Overwatch League or whatever, and he was just like, well, Fisher and Shax, and
it's not just like you realize Shax is on,
bro.
Yeah,
like, that was a good one. It's just like fire and forget. Needless to say, of course, he was beaten by that team also, right? Wasn't it the case? Yeah, stage 3, right? Didn't they beat Shock in stage 3? Maybe I'm mixing it up with
I think with Valiant beat Titans. Yeah, Valiant beat Titans and Chengdu beat Shock, but I don't think Valiant beat Shock. I could be wrong though.
Yeah,
I'd have to go back and look. A lot of games. Don't hate.
True. Yeah. Also, no, I think in general the thing is here, right? For instance, Kelix had a solid performance. Sure. And then we got the report that Kelix had been courted by several Overwatch League teams, which I corrected and said he has already been signed and has been for a while. So
okay.
This narrative of players now being specifically looked at because of World Cup
Because of the
performance.
World Cup, yeah.
It might be the case for like, let's say a handful of people.
Yeah, for
not
some
more than
players,
it
for sure.
doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's usually people who are kind of like on the fringe already, anyways, right? And they're just like,
I'd imagine so. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think
Let's
you're
not
gonna
forget-
like out of nowhere you're gonna sign somebody.
I think next week we have the cutoff anyway.
Yeah, November
right?
11th is the where teams need to have 8 players. Right?
Okay,
You can
so-
still sign through
Literally.
like June 30th or something like that.
All right. Well, there's that.
Okay.
That's
so-
actually hilarious that just came out.
Yeah, so Kellex
Toronto
announced
Defiant.
for
Literally
That's hilarious.
1 minute ago.
Where's Jay? Jay, are you here? I have
Sign
your
Kellex.
stuff. Thanks for giving it to me.
that signing
Wow,
had been in
Toronto
the books
Defiant.
for
What a
while.
bunch of money ballers, am I right?
What a bunch of money ballers.
Oh my gosh, we're getting all the
Just get 'em in. Get 'em in
butchering
now.
language in this podcast right now. Like it's really bad.
Get them buzzwords in.
But yeah, I think some teams might, and they still had an inclination, maybe held out until then. But the majority of decisions had to be made simply because you gotta have 8 players, right? So yeah, I guess we're getting into the argument slowly of the legitimacy of the Overwatch World Cup. I think for scouting grounds, it's still being held at BlizzCon when the cutoff date is so shortly after, makes it not feasible as a scouting ground. And then the quality of play and the surrounding circumstances on top of that also don't help.
Feel free to correct me if this is wrong, but like you said, you just need 8 players by the cutoff, correct? Like you can still sign more players,
yeah,
right?
so
Yeah,
November
yeah.
11th, here's specifically right from the rulebook. November 11th, 2019 season agreements officially end. Any player not under contract in the 2020 season becomes free agents. In order to facilitate these players signing with the new teams before the initial roster deadline, those players set to become free agents in November are permitted to discuss contracts with other teams before their 2019 contracts formally expire. We've seen that a few times with players who are like, "Hey, the X team is giving me is allowing me to discuss contracts with other people. LFT.
Sure.
Here's my Discord. Somebody get me an agent." November 15th is the deadline for all teams to have a minimum of 8 players under contract.
Mhm.
Teams may sign or trade players until June 15th, 2020.
Yeah, so I think this is like some maybe again like fringe pickups that you probably already have your 8 players by now. At least I would certainly hope so. And these could fill out your roster, piece together maybe a contenders lineup that hopefully may filter up at some point. I still think it's pretty solid in terms of last minute. Okay, how good is this player? What do they really have to offer? How good are they on stage? Maybe doing some interviews preliminary with teammates and trying to, parse how they are in comms and stuff like that, which I can't imagine. I don't know that teams do, but I'm hoping maybe that's a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's like the best indicator of scouting and whatnot, but it certainly can't hurt seeing the player play.
Sure. Okay. I don't want to talk about World Cup anymore. I think we've done an all right job. Let's talk about 2020. We've learned a few things about the 2020 season. I know we're never talking about it again. The last Overwatch Cup. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I get it. The Overwatch League 2020 BlizzCon session. There was a kind of a Watch Point 2020 preview thing going on with Puckett and Hexagrams, Custa and Baby Bay, and the one dude who like runs Overwatch League, whose names I never remember. Or he's like the product manager for it. Yeah.
Oh. Pete Velistica? I don't remember his last name.
No, Vestelica.
Not that guy?
Yeah. Anyways, here's what we've
Didn't
learned.
see it.
The regular season matches will be a 1 to 3 wins format rather than using map differential. So we don't have any indication on if map differential will like factor in for tiebreakers sake or anything.
Sure.
But it'll be 1 to 3, which I think is good. Will not include Overwatch 2 or Push. So
good.
Yep. New mid-season tournament that features the Atlantic and Pacific Conference leaders plus 2 teams with the best records through week 10. This is going to take during the take place during the All-Star break. We're going to come back to that in a second. First round for the first to 3 wins format will be control, and the tiebreaker will be control, and then we'll have a map pool. No
but
changes.
they said, okay, sorry, I think that it was brought up that push might become eventually a tiebreaker, but probably not this season.
Yeah, not this season. Yeah, exactly. And then no changes to the season playoffs. So you've got play-ins and then double elimination.
Beautiful.
I think the big news here is that we are going away from the 4-map format. No matter what, win or lose, you can get 4-0'd or whatever. Yay,
Like
right?
it. Yay, very much yay.
Yay, let's get away from that. I understood why it was enticing at first, but honestly, I think that they should have cut that at the end of the first season. I never liked best of 4 as much as it did help for like consistency of timing, right? So when you when you know that you're going to do 4 maps, it's a little bit easier to schedule out, right? But it also means that you have to watch Vancouver play the Mayhem. And
for a 4th map where it doesn't matter.
You're just like, come on.
Yeah.
It's constantly such a weird thing to describe to people who don't necessarily watch Overwatch League and be like, yeah, this game's for like the map score, but it doesn't really matter. The other team already won. So like, but why are they playing though? Because you need to, because of sponsors and scheduling and map differential. They're like, yeah, I don't get this. This is dumb.
The other kind of interesting one is the new emphasis on control. So control will be the first round or the first map that they play, and it will also be used for tiebreakers for now. I mean, does that give an advantage to teams that are significantly better at control?
I mean, isn't that kind of how it's always been?
Yeah.
5th map being, I mean, if in the 4-game set, the 5th map was always control, so there's always more emphasis on it.
It seems to me though that closer matches are more likely to go to overtime though. No?
Do you mean map 5? Or what do you mean by overtime?
Or tiebreaker. Sorry, not overtime.
Because of a 3-game, maybe? I don't know. I
have to sit down and think about it and do the math.
I'm not sure. Possibly.
Maybe.
I think it depends.
Anyways,
I won't pretend I can fall. I'll just
but I think the big news here is the announcement of a mid-season tournament featuring 4 teams, the 2 best teams in the Atlantic and the Pacific regions. So the best team in the Atlantic, best team in the Pacific, and then the 2 next teams based off of record through week 10. This ends up happening in week 13, I believe, or right after 13.
I'm very okay with this.
Joe, you're very okay with this. Why are you very okay with this?
I think this has been a big, like, contentious point with the removal of stages, is the kind of like measuring the litmus test going into new patches, into new, as the season progresses, seeing how teams are actually doing well. This gives us an added or kind of fills that gap, at least in my eyes it does. I would like it to be a little bit bigger. Instead of 2 teams, I'd like to see 4 teams and do a 6-man tournament, double elim, have it out. Possibly with, the winner getting a direct seed into the final playoffs, just to add a little bit more weight to the entire event and add some drama there to just, get people to watch. And actually, invest their time into it, because on its face, it's much like the stage playoffs, where it's cool to see, teams fight it out, and it definitely has some prestige to it. But at the end of the day, it's just a cash prize and some bragging rights. Let's put some weight behind it. Let's make this a big deal. But as it stands, I'm very happy with the system coming in. Midseason is always a good time in other games like League of Legends. It's always it's a fun little tournament to see exactly where teams are situated and how good, actual preparation can be and what teams really look like. So all in all, like, this is a very good start. I just want a little bit more. Maybe I'm being greedy, but I like it so far. Definitely a plus to next season.
Yiska, are you a big fan of this? I have a feeling that, like all things, you're super high and excited about this.
I think like the what Eric said in chat is a little concerning. I don't know how that's going to be reconciled in
What
any
did he
way.
say?
So basically, he said that the standings for the All-Star weekend or whatever you want to call mid-season invitational, whatever.
Sure.
You want to call it, like it's taken off week 10, and some teams will have played 12 matches, and some teams will only have played 9 matches. Now, how do you determine who the top teams are, and the wildcards and whatnot? And that is really weird. And I guess he suggested it probably will be of win percentage, or maybe elo, or maybe I don't know how that works. I will also say I can already tell you that the top teams wouldn't want to play because there's no off time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I hope they attach at least some prize pool to it, or
at the very least, it needs a prize pool. And again, like I said, I think it needs some weight to it. I think it needs like a seeding, a higher seeding chance, whatever Blizzard wants to come up with it. But I don't think it can just be nothing. Yeah. And I don't know that even prize money is going to be enough to incentivize teams to like practice as hard as they have been all season and really try to, win this. It's prestigious. I'm sure it's going to be a big deal, but if there's nothing to really incentivize them, then got to question it. Along with, the added question of, what Eric said, like, if there's not going to be an equal amount of games played and we're going off of this other thing, is that a great way to see this? I think it's going to need its own time to be figured out and find the best way to do it. But so far, at least we have something, right? Something to fill the gap of stage playoffs, to get people excited, kind of, tease them until the end of the season, and then we have that. So it's a good start. Just want it to be built out a little bit more.
About the only thing that I think could be worse than this current format, with the information that we have right now, is just doing nothing at all. It feels like the absolutely bare minimum for a mid-season tournament.
Yeah, but it's still at least one, right? Like we're taking what we can at this point.
I'll take it.
I'll take it where I can, but I mean that was number one. We have no information around like prize pool, or if it factors into playoffs at all. Assuming it, because they didn't say anything, it does not. Like, imagine a world in which there's no prize pool at all. What a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah.
Or no playoff
like
So the worst. It's so good for scouting though. You're not scouting the top 4 teams at least. So at the very worst, most pessimistic viewpoint, right, is that there's no prize pool attached and there's no playoff implications attached at all. I don't think that they're going to do this, but hypothetically, if we do this, what a waste of everybody's time. What a waste. Sure. I think on the flip side,
and I'll tell you,
go ahead.
Every team is going to try to get as much breaks as possible. Like, yes, we have the same amount of break weeks, but we don't have them consecutively, and there's still a thing called travel. And the schedules make it fairly impossible for instance, Korean players outside of the Korean team, especially on the teams that are further away on the other side of the Pacific, to go home. I don't think you can feasibly do that on a 2-week break, for instance, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because you want to scrim depending on your status quo in terms of the current level that you're playing at and whatnot. Or is there a new meta? Or I mean, there's always things to work on. And even like, is someone really going to fly home for a day or whatever? Like, so, but we still know that people want to be with their families and whatnot. Like,
yeah, of course.
And recuperate. And I don't think there's enough time. I personally would have loved to see the season extended by a month or 2, because I already, like, once again, we are here Like we're looking at the calendar and it's just like, yeah, there's next cup. And then it's February and Overwatch starts.
Yep.
That's our Overwatch till like in the foreseeable future, right? So
That's true.
I don't know. I feel like if we just dragged it out and teams had more of a break, because like also meta innovations, it's almost like, you know, self-serving. We felt recuperated after the mid-season break. The teams did. We had some meta changes with Sombra coming in, whatnot, seemingly also helping Shanghai develop their style. And if we just had more of those breaks, and I think that is also something that's crucially undervalued in the statements that, for instance, Jeff Kaplan made about the meta, is yes, you can do all the things, make it very open, make all the characters very balanced, as long as you don't give the opportunity for teams to go out of their comfort zone. And keep in mind, the best teams don't even want to do that. Like they just want to keep the meta where they're possibly the best on, and maybe if they see something that could beat that they also would be great at, maybe they go in there and throw curveballs, but they don't have an incentive of changing the status quo if you're already like a world beater. So like you just gotta create incentive structures to meta change, and we don't have any of those, and it's actually getting worse with season 3. So even like you gotta go way harder with the balance patches in order to facilitate a meta switch up, I think, than you need it in season 2.
And even with, you know, the added breaks that you're proposing, that would be a great time to add a balance patch. You don't want a balance patch like before somebody's match and okay, now we're just going to have to learn how to play this new patch. It's, you know, we haven't had time to play PBE because it's, you know, I have matches to prepare for before that, so there's no time to play that, and maybe the coaches have double the duty, but the players probably won't have much time to get a handle on these new patch changes. And I can probably assume that Blizzard's going to have a heavier hand with how long it took for them to get rid of goats, and for how uninteresting that I think the feedback has been with Orisa Sigma. I think they're going to have to be very heavy-handed, and I think the balancing strategy will probably shift into making some very, very large changes into what they think the community wants. So it's going to be some drastic changes in the middle of a season where, you know, things are already quite hectic. So yeah, like I would have to agree. Things are unfortunately going to get a little bit weird, and probably for the worse.
Also, like, let's not forget, literally, I think the impact on this, on the entire game's ecosystem. So, okay, it's not one-to-one. There's a correlation that I believe to be causation in some sense, but not 100%, right? So we say, okay, we have more breaks, therefore the meta is better, therefore the ladder also plays a different strategy, depending on the meta that the Overwatch League plays. Because yes, you're probably not playing the optimal ladder composition that could, you know, like maximize your win rate in playing with completely random people all the time. Sure. But what you're doing is you're playing the meta that currently is in the Overwatch League to give, like, the Overwatch League players want to practice there, their mechanics and whatnot. The players that are also of the Overwatch League want to practice their mechanics in terms of like getting there and sort of also giving it to, like, suggesting themselves not only to Overwatch League teams but contenders teams. Like, yes, I can play Lucio, even though maybe Mercy theoretically would be better played on ladder because it requires less, you know, combination and whatnot.
This one,
why not?
I think you're super overestimating how garbage ladder is. I think in very few esports is ladder an actual like good practicing point. I think it's good in terms of just like drilling and
really. I think in
most
the
of the
majority
time
of esports
like
it's pretty good.
Mechanic. It's just for mechanic practice. Other than that, like, it doesn't matter what you're playing. You could be playing goats with a Pharah.
It's mechanics on the hero.
Yeah, exactly. It's mechanics on a hero, but I don't think the meta has anything to do with that. Like, you're just playing your hero that you want to practice, and that's it. And then you go to scrims to actually practice strategy. I don't think you're strategizing.
Yeah, of course. But that's still important in order to, like, hone those mechanics. Like, if I'm an Overwatch League player and we're still for some reason, okay, it's not possible, but we're still for some reason playing goats, sure, and I just play Pharah into goats, like, that doesn't hone my mechanics in order to play against Sigma Orisa. Like there's different requiments.
Sure,
I
of
also
course.
think in other esports, notoriously in League of Legends, at least some analysts I hear about give an immense amount of credence to solo queue and the quality and where a player stands. Then in CS:GO, okay, it's not the ladder, but it's the facets,
it's the third
these
party,
leagues.
basically like pro scrims, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it just trickles down. Like if pro play switches up matters, then it happens in the top of the ladder as well, because people want to suggest themselves or want to work in that system. Then some people at least will see it in the lower levels. Of course, then it disperses, but it changes the entire attitude of influences that these pro players are towards the game, and we're singing a very different tune. Now, let's be honest, we will never hear, oh, the game is in such a great place that everyone will be saying that.
Sure.
No, everyone will shut up about the game being an issue, and that's as good as you're going to get as a community sentiment. Yeah. And only after the fact you will say, oh, this is Wrath of the Lich King. I can tell you, Wrath of the Lich King felt awful while playing it.
Like, 100%.
It didn't feel good. It only felt good in Aftermath.
Yes. And then you look hindsight, you're like, oh wow, Dive was so fun. Like it was so interactive and dynamic. Yeah, no, Wrath was.
I'm not going down that. I'm not going down that route.
That's fine.
We're not going there.
I would have shot someone who made
but that's okay. We're not going down that route.
I would have shot the person that made a Death Knight at the time.
I would have shot anybody who played prop paladin in arena.
Hey, I almost made it into a tournament for that. That was my esports career. Come on.
Oh my god. All right.
I'm good.
All right. Anyways, that's what we know about Overwatch League 2020. Hopefully we get more info on the impact of that the mid-season tournament. Because I love the concept of it. I think we all love the concept of it. But I feel like we all want to see it either broaden quite a bit or see really really enticing stakes as to like, here's why you want to be here. And if we learned anything from last year, like if the point is, let's make it the top 4 players, since they're mostly going to be here for All-Stars anyway, go look at the All-Stars roster from last year and look at how many players would actually be present. And you'd be like, oh, never mind. So, yeah. Let's talk about some rumors. We've got some time. Or not rumors, but we've got a lot of, believe it or not, in our master spreadsheet of goodness, big thanks to Eric on that. In our master spreadsheet of goodness, there are over 366 rows of transfers since October 1st, I think. So, a lot of movements. This includes like rumored movements and things that didn't happen, players getting, sent to free agency and otherwise. There's been a lot to keep track of, and every week we're keeping track about anywhere between 30 and 70 different movements. But we are going to talk about them this week, and I think the first team that we should probably talk about is probably one of the bigger ones. Philadelphia Fusion. The Philadelphia Fusion this week announced between October 30th, well, basically October 30th to today, that they're bringing on Funny. So they added Funny Astro, they added Alarm, they re-signed Carpe and EQO, they added Fury and Ivy. Pretty pog, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a pretty good scary team.
Yeah.
The only place that I would like to see fleshed out, that I think teams in general I would like to see start to build out, like a substitute, like a real substitute, like bullpen, is probably main tank.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I don't think Sato's like the worst ever, but the last 2 seasons have not been the most. How would you say? I definitely not the best performances of his career. Seeing how this is only his career, so I don't know how much is left in the tank for him in terms of expectations and promise. So I would like to see them sign like a substitute main tank, just to see, throw him on a contenders team, bring him up when you think he's ready, and start to rotate that out, because that's quickly becoming probably the the shortest list of actual talent in that role, like just mechanical like superstars, but like one of the most impactful roles. So I think really working on main tanks would be who of a lot of these teams.
Yeah. I empathize with Fusion a little bit because given their restrictions of only signing boosters, it's pretty hard to find anyone better than Sado.
True. That's true. That's true.
Right. So,
but I mean, all in all, this roster looks very good. Very, very, very good. I think people have been sleeping a whole hell of a lot on Ivy. Is he the best player ever? No, I wouldn't go that far, but very, very talented. And I don't think he really got to show what he really had in store on Defiant and in the GOATS meta. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised to see him do well. Carpe, obviously one of the better talents, you know, one of the superstars of the league. EQO nipping at his heels, very, very, very solid. Fury coming in, like another superstar.
That's big.
We'll see with Alarm. I don't know. I think he's good, but I think in general in this offseason, my opinion has been swayed that maybe you don't need a superstar flex support. It's definitely a role that you're not gonna scoff at. But did you have to shell out? Did you shell out? I don't know. Is that really necessary?
Depends. Like, we had one season where it was largely important. We had one season where it wasn't.
And a bunch of, you know, metas in the past that where it was. And I have, you know, some reason to believe that it probably will be important again. But is there a trend to say that it's dropping in actual translation of value? It's hard to say. I definitely think that main tank has definitely shot up and they haven't necessarily made moves there. But again, I can't, you know, rattle on about the same old shtick with Fusion because they have made a lot of moves and a lot of very, very good moves. And
they've made good moves. Yeah, that's the biggest thing is like, I don't know if that there's any teams that I can look at and go, oh yeah, you guys are exactly how I want to see it, and there's nothing that I would change, and there's nothing that you can change, and there's no weaknesses, and good job. But
yeah,
like that just probably doesn't exist.
Yeah, there's probably not a perfect team.
So I don't think that we're ever going to have that conversation on the show.
No.
So don't take this as, oh, Philadelphia Fusion, like, how are they going to approach the main tank role? Is Alarm actually as meaningful of a pickup as a lot of people make it out to be, as like the second coming of Jonak? Like, is that a thing, or is it, you know, something totally different or whatever? I think that was really well said. So we'll just kind of keep emphasizing that point as we go through these teams, and we will definitely do like overall team previews once everything is stabilized. But if
now on that note of like pre team previews, Fusion looking like very solid, like top 5 easily right now.
Yeah,
very meaty.
Yeah,
I meant to put that. When I was ranking Fusion last season, I meant this season.
There you go.
Just reached into the wrong crystal ball.
So
that's okay. That's okay.
wrong crystal ball. I'll get it right this year. Yeah, we're right. I got I labeled them now. I've got a nice little label maker, and so there's
very nice.
2 months from now crystal ball, and there's a 1 year from now. And I'm now at the 1 year from now and 2 months from now crystal balls have aligned. So confirmed.
There you go.
Confirmed top 5 team. Yeah, this is really exciting. I'm excited to get some more insight. I think we may have. I'm working on having a Fusion representative.
Oh, good.
If you will, up on the show, talk about some of these
all about
changes.
that.
And I think it'll be dope. So stay tuned for that one. But there's another team that I want to talk about.
Okay.
And it's a team that I am not as high on. That is the Los Angeles Valiant.
Yeah.
They assign Apply, Dreamer, Lastro, and McGravy and Slur.
They won't be last. I don't think they'll be last, but they're certainly not winning anything. I'll tell you that one. I think Slur's quite a solid player. I'm not super jazzed about Gravy. I've heard good things about Lastro. We'll have to see on Dreamer. And Apply is okay comparatively. I think we have to really start to remind the community that we're not judging players in a vacuum anymore. We're judging them against their peers in the Overwatch League, and Apply goes up against some of the best players in the world now. We'll see. I think Valiant, this is a bridge year, and we'll see. We'll have to see. I don't think they'll be last, but again, I think they're going to be like fighting for middle of the pack at the very least.
Yiska, you know what this roster is?
What?
Moneyball.
They tried.
Chad, at least he didn't start singing like I'm just a dreamer.
Oh, not that one. Okay, never mind.
So I think my problem is, in my mind, it will be much more important than it was previously to have a great roster, or as good as it gets roster by the start of the season. Meaning that making changes like the Valiant have done in the last 2 years, mid-season will be significantly harder because of logistical issues. So with that, I would have liked to have a more solid base to build upon. I get why they have to. Even if they were to finally get some money for the Outlaws in the like somewhere in the season, and they actually can reallocate resources, I don't know. It will be much harder to save the seasons than it was this year, for instance.
Sure.
So, I mean, yeah, I guess that's just also where I have to switch up my mindset of just going like, okay, so some teams are just thinking of this much more long term than I do, and also under the belief that we are still here in 5 to 10 years.
Yep.
And that the one season doesn't matter as much. So if I learned anything in esports, is that we're just like living hedonistically, like paying everything right now because we don't know how long it will last. Yeah. For all we know, like I look at these evaluations by Forbes and they are high as hell. Like they are smoking the bubble, like they're smoking the good shit and blowing it into these bubbles. And it's just purple haze in the bubble that they're currently creating in esports, where organizations can be valued at 400 million and have 8 to 20 million in revenues. It's just like, okay, good. That's the good shit. So I don't know. Like I just feel like you should always build for the moment in esports and enjoy while it lasts. And I don't know. I'm not too big of a fan. But then again, it's a dope project. If this sees some promise, I think that's just a really cool experiment that already once failed, arguably with Wizard Young, at least in part doing that. So we'll see.
This may be surprising to other people, but I think one of the players that I'm most interested in seeing in this year is Dreamer. He actually made it out of open trials with Valiant. So he was the only player in open trials to be like, hey, yeah, you should be on our team. Yeah, we want you.
I think that's the only player that's the only player we know of so far that has come from open trials in general. Am I incorrect in saying that? Just with throughout the entire
as far
league.
as I know, maybe nothing pops out. So he's pulling a Mark Wahlberg in an Invincible is what he's doing. And
all
so
of Boston season 1.
I'm really all of Boston season 1. I'm really excited to see, like, I don't know. I think I don't know. Maybe Packing's got something up his sleeve, right? With Dreamer. It's also kind of interesting, with Sydney Drop Bears. You've got one of very few South Korean players playing in the Australia Pacific region. I have no idea how that actually translates. Like, is that what we see with oh my God, what's their name? Lucky Future Zenith, where we saw them in China.
China just
is that a something where it's just they just kind of clap, and like you could argue like, yeah, but are they really that good or better, or are they just a bunch of Korean players who just can't compete in Korea?
Yeah.
And what does that say about somebody who's playing in Australia? But at the same time, like again, I think there's a pattern with these players that is very reminiscent of the Boston Uprising, as like very teachable, very
teamwork oriented. It doesn't seem
like the
people are gonna butt heads all that much.
Is the goal, not the individual player rating or whatever that kind of comes out of it. And so I'm really interested to see Dreamer. I think McGravy is I mean, he didn't perform bad last year, right? Like he's middle of the pack probably. Apparently, like again, they signed him because of his attitude and his calls. And again, that's totally that's totally a page out of one other team we know, at least, where
100%.
That's great.
It's not a bad thing to hear that his mentals are good. He calls well. My biggest problem in general, when people evaluate flex tanks in particular, is that for the longest time we've seen them play one hero, and that's D.Va. D.Va to Zarya, D.Va to Sigma, D.Va to whatever the next meta might be. Who knows? It may end up being double main tank at some point. Can they play those heroes? We don't know. There are some players who we actually have seen play multiple different heroes at a high level. I don't know if McGravy is even top of his class in D.Va, let alone at another hero. I struggle to see him really thriving on heroes. I'd love to be proven wrong, but that's where I think the biggest weakness so far with this roster is probably going to be flex tank. And as we've seen in the past, it's not a role you want to have weak players in. So I don't know. I don't know.
I am going to go as far as saying that so far I feel like LA Valiant might be the worst or second worst team in Overwatch League.
I don't think they'll be.
There's next to no pre-existing synergies. Other teams are leveling up. They're making big plays. And at the very worst, I feel like they've gone like this, if not like this, and this is a downward trend here. While other teams are very much doing this and making some very pog moves. So far.
As more teams make signings, the justice consistently keep falling for me.
What?
I don't know how much more the Washington Justice can sign for them to like start to climb up in my own kind of like mental notes, but every week it's just like, well, Justice need to make some moves because the moves that they've made so far really don't inspire a ton of faith, and I don't know if they might be towards the bottom this year as well. I don't know.
So here's the roster we have so far for the Justice. Corey, Tuba, your favorite. Stratus. Corey and Stratus, really? Okay. Anyways,
Stratus not so much.
Lulsish, Roar.
Probably a little bit more in the tank.
Elevote. And then you've got Arc and presumably Aim God.
It's not bad.
That was rumored from Halo today, or not today, yesterday. So it's not confirmed, but presumably Aim God.
Let's assume.
Role. Yeah.
Let's assume for argument's sake. I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily head and shoulders above where Valiant is.
I'm just excited that supposedly with AimGod joining the Washington Justice, they've finally signed a player that can bully the happy-go-lucky attitude of Stratus out of him. That's just what I'm happy about.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Valiant might be the last. I have a hard time thinking that they're going to be last. I think people are very they don't know about Slur. We really don't know about Dreamer. I don't think people are really as high on Lastro as they probably should be. I would agree with the sentiment around McGravy and probably apply, but I still think that they have some room to show people that they're going to outperform expectation. I would.
There's no way the
confident.
Justice next year are an 8-20 team. There's no way.
Okay. We'll see. Mayhem also. We'll see what happens with
once
Mayhem.
we get past November 15th, let's do a Lord bet. Let's evaluate a Lord bet.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to do
I very much don't see a world in which the Justice ends up finishing worse than the Valiant. And I would take that
We'll
one
have
to
to
bet.
see. Okay.
So far. Okay.
I'm choosing my Lord bits way more wisely this year. Joe already gave me one that was sort of like, where it's like,
No.
You didn't.
I didn't give it to you. You offered it. That was the beautiful thing. You offered it. You said both, and I'm like,
And he
both. And you're
chickened
like,
out.
yeah. I'm like,
No,
gimme.
I mean, this year, like we talked about
Sure.
something. I totally forgot what we were talking about.
I think it
but
was
like,
around
really?
justice.
Damn.
I want to say it was around justice being like better than certain teams, and I'm like, and that's why I preface it was like, I don't know, maybe Yiska. Maybe Yiska might like this transition because I'm slowly losing hope with justice. We'll see. We'll see what the end of it.
But I was like, this is a good one. I'm getting my Lord title back. I got him weak. We got it.
No.
So.
But with Valiant being, a bridge season, what isn't a bridge season is all the Shanghai Dragons rumors.
Is that the best transition you had?
Not at all, but I don't want to hear any lip. You like that? That's pretty good. Just saying.
I swear to God, like next time we're just going to have like Kicked just like with his P Morse code the transition rather than this. Like this is terrible. So what do you think about the
rumored to sign Lee Jae-gon from Runaway?
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Stand one, solid.
Daniel.
It's fine.
Daniel.
Void again. It's fine. I think it's probably a lateral move with Envy and just in terms of mechanics, but probably a better teammate, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't pick Lip out of a lineup ever. I don't know who this is.
Sure.
I'm gonna have to go back and look and see
Blossom
what he's
right?
about. Huh?
Blossom.
Yeah, he played for Blossom. Outside of that, I know next to nothing.
It was
about
kind
him,
of no head turner, I don't think.
But in general, like solid pickups. I mean, if the rumors are true that they're grabbing Fleta, I think he could play well behind Ding and Damon. DM? Why do I call him Damon? Yeah, I think in general, nicely forming out. I think Shanghai is definitely a roster I'm high on. If they got Lee Jae-gon, I think that's a good pickup. I think stand one is again very lateral to Gamsu. If anything, maybe a slight loss without like the veteran leadership. I don't know how much that played a role there. And we'll have to see what Lip offers. But all in all, I think Shanghai is probably going to stay around.
But Fade was also rumored, right?
Yes, Fade as well, which I think could be okay on a fully Korean lineup. I think that isn't Florida Mayhem. No offense to anybody in chat that may be working for the Florida Mayhem. But yeah, I think Shanghai in general should still probably be playoffs at this point in where we're evaluating roster predictions.
So by the way, we're working on the spreadsheet algorithms a little bit. How it works is it actually like grabs it from their last rumored like team. So it might pull from a team that's not totally accurate, but just know that there's like a rhyme and reason. It's not like, oh yeah, it was on the Mayhem. It doesn't come from that place. It's more like, how do you synthesize, and what we're trying to do is understand not just where the player ends up, but the journey of the rumors and the reports to finally getting to where they actually do end up. So now we can go back and be like, remember when Fate was looking at, are they going to the Mayhem? This was reported by this person. And like, it's really interesting stuff, but it's kind of hard to like solidify, I guess.
Yeah.
I personally think Shanghai is a much better team than they were.
I think so too. What's much better?
Yeah, what's much better? That's
plus 4?
Yeah. In terms of standings?
Yeah.
I think, like, let's keep in mind, like, we think of, like, it's
Shanghai
very easy to see, Shanghai.
15, so the season standings, they finished 11th. So you think that they could finish, that's a 7th place team?
We think they are much better because they won a stage, but actually in the overall standings they weren't that impressive, right? So I think like just like in terms of flexibility, they added. If the Fate and Stan 1 rumors are true,
if that's true, I like that a lot more, just in terms of like long-term value. But we'll have to see.
then the DPS are like they added another flex DPS into that lineup. That's also, while probably you shouldn't be calling Fleta elite at this point anymore.
No.
He's still like there's still
He can play a good
reason to
second fiddle.
believe. Yeah, there's reason to believe that he could still like be a very feasible like rascal type player, whatnot, with better mechanics also.
And fill in the blanks. That's about it.
And then their backline is always like the flex, right? Like what was the issue more so than the main support? I also like it's interesting. Like I tend to agree with like the commonly held opinion that Lee Jae-gon is nuts.
I think he's good.
But I also recognize that a lot of like coaches and insiders just say, well, we only know Lucio.
Yeah.
And how good is he actually? I don't know. I think that this kid's pretty crazy overall. And I'm also
I think
very interested that he actually didn't stick with a core, if that was to be true.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest change up in terms of like the juice flow, is that maybe Olive Runaway isn't going to Florida. And if that's the case, what in God's green earth are they doing? Because that's going to be a little weird if that's the case. I don't know.
Did you see the new juice, by the way, that like there was a new leak, a Korean leak, I believe?
I've been away. I haven't seen anything. So please fill me in.
That thing said Wizard Young to NYXL.
No, it didn't.
Sleeper.
I'm pretty sure it did. I don't think like I'm misremembering. I hope it doesn't mean head coach. I don't know anything about that. But
Chat's saying
I was gonna say
unequivocally
Seoul.
saying Seoul.
Seoul.
Do you mean Seoul?
Oh my god, my bad. Yeah. It's
I
that's
was
actually
gonna say back to
that is
NYXL.
actually
No,
worse.
no. Yeah.
By the way, that is actually worse.
Whatever. Double down on it. Whatever you want to do.
That is actually worse. Yeah.
That's not that's the heart attack clause. You got profit and gesture and then you signed Wizard, and it's just like okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever, man.
Okay.
Whatever.
I have so many regrets about last season.
I'm sure you do.
Mainly not calling him out before the season started. Like
would have.
and I think
could
it's
have.
getting worse.
Okay.
And this season, especially stage 4, all but confirmed that like not head coach potential. I hope it means assistant coach.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know that the leak had said this, but is it confirmed that, or is it leaked that he's going to be head coach or an assistant coach?
It doesn't say. It just says
coaching staff.
Interpret this to the worst of your nightmares is what it says.
Yeah, not a fan of that juice myself personally.
I mean, some of that juice is also like smoking.
Is this also from like the person who said like Jake's going to Atlanta and stuff like that? Because I was
it's actually from a person that did predict something.
Is this like the original
previous Korean? Yeah. And it also says, "Who are you to Dallas still?" Now, the connection is clear there, right?
Quack quack.
The connection from Fusion Uni, and of course, Arrow was the head coach of Fusion Uni at the time when Who Are You was still around. So there could be a connection there. I don't know if that. Oh, dude, man, this kid
on
has
top
been...
of Decay. It's very weird at this point if they're still gonna go through with that, because that's been rumored for a long time. That feels very weird to me.
Ah, man,
I don't.
Who Are You hurts me more than Flower ever could. Who Are You at one point was such a transcendental talent, and then he just got lunatic highs in Apex Season 3, and ever since then he's just been not the same, dude. It's really bad.
Can we talk about the Defiant?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Toronto Defiant. Toronto has a special place in our heart, Joe. I know you got some cool swag.
Hold on.
Courtesy of the Panda Man Baroy himself.
Got this little water bottle. Hell yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
We got a little
Do
bag.
you use that only for drinking?
I mean, I guess you could use it elsewhere,
For
I suppose.
Not you, though.
No, of course not. Why would it be for me?
Well, we know you
my
don't
God.
like that.
No, we don't. So how about agilities, huh?
So we got some changes here. They've added agilities and Beast, formerly Beast Halo, if you're not familiar with the name, Mangachu and Surefour. And then we are still at a point where there's still a rumor around that Nevix is being moved around. Could possibly be.
Rumor.
So you can see it all on the video stream. What we're looking at here. And also, sorry, Kellex was confirmed during the show, so I didn't update my show notes.
Yes.
But thankfully, Eric was here and updated the spreadsheet for us.
Like the saint he
So
is.
yeah, so here's the DPS look. Here's what we're looking at for DPS. Surefour and Logics, Mangachu and Agilities. Thoughts? This is a really great team for the Alienware Monthly Melee in February of 2016.
Surefour's fine. Logix is one of those players that like needs specific metas, I feel like. Mangachu, again, very much like a weird hero kind of player, kind of overlaps a little bit with agilities, and I've never been that high on agilities. So, I mean, another big reason why I didn't think Canada was going to do all that great at World Cup, but I mean, I don't know who else they could pick. Yeah, it's fine. It's nothing. It doesn't really jump off the page for me. Surefour is probably the best player in that lineup for that section, for that role. Outside of that, it's a lot of role players.
So agilities is kind of safe, right? Like
at this point, it's safe, good.
And I agree with you. I agree with you in that, in the sense that he has always been a middle of the pack DPS, flex tank, and like I don't ever see a scenario in which that changes until at least not this next season. Like it's still it's whatever. It's fine. Surefour is an enigma for me. I keep expecting him to get worse. I keep expecting him to do what the other old guard DPS have done. Like, go grab your tombstone next to Shadowburn and die. Not literally, but figuratively. And he doesn't. He like actually gets better. And so I've made a vow to never try to analyze Surefour ever again. Outside of that. That's my thing. I don't know, man. Like, I guess
this
I mean
DPS lineup's pretty
Mangachu.
sleeper.
Yeah, it's
not great. It's not bad.
There's some peaks there, though, right? Like, there's some really interesting peaks. You got to go back a ways. And like I said, this is literally like a dream DPS lineup for the February 2017 Alienware Monthly Melee. Or 2016 monthly melee of like, you've got ZP with his really crappy green screen in the background. Dude, I can help you with that chroma key, by the way. And, you know, like sometimes not all the sponsors pay and whatever. That'd be a really great DPS squad for that team. We're in Overwatch League Season 3.
Yeah.
I've been watching MasterChef. And they just did their 10th season, and literally every minute and a half, they're like, "This is MasterChef season 10. The stakes are doubled, tripled, highest they've ever been." And as cheesy as it sounds, like that's where we are with Overwatch.
Yeah,
like the stakes
only going
are
up
high,
from here.
and I think agility. Like I have mad respect for agilities, but like again, he's just like he's vanilla.
I mean, this whole DPS like lineup, they cover all the bases. It just doesn't like scream playoffs. Surefour is the only person that I think is probably going to start throughout the entire season, and then everybody else just fits in around him. Is it super far heavy? You put Mangachu in. Is it super hit scan heavy? You put Logix in. Is there
Isn't
like
that
Genji?
why you have 4 DPS players though?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Like
that's exactly
that
why.
seems to be the kind of strategy that they must be going for, is like
100%.
let's
And
put in
that
Sure
for me,
4, and then let's have these 3 guys kind of figure their shit out.
yes. Historically, that's always been a big contentious kind of question for me, is how good is that really? You constantly have to re-up and rotate out players. We've seen how impactful certain players can be in communication in terms of actually like facilitating team success. Does that lead you to success with this team? It could. I just think it's not necessarily super optimal. I don't think rotating a constant rotation of a player in a role is going to be super good.
Have we had teams try to do this in the past?
I think, let's see. I think
like,
there
I'm
have
trying
been
to think
teams
of ones, and I don't feel like ones to this obvious level. And to be fair, this was kind of before 2-2-2, so there was even a little bit more, like, I think, intentionality. Less intentionality.
I think there's a lot of intention with certain teams. I think Seoul probably, with Michelle's flexibility, could have aimed to try and do that and then just give it up.
Resist the Bliss kind of said, the Shock have kind of done that in the past.
100%. Chengdu again.
So it's not.
I think they go into it with good intentions and then just give up. You're like, okay, this just doesn't work. Let's just stick with certain players and coast it out, because team synergy matters a whole hell of a lot. Shanghai, Vancouver, I think a lot of these teams build out a good sizable DPS role, but only end up using like 2 to 3. Having 4, somebody's probably not going to see a lot of playtime. And I think if anything, I'm looking at Mangachu and Agilities. I'd be surprised if Logic doesn't get in, but I think that'll be very meta dependent. Like if there's just not a Widow meta, then it's like, well, I don't know what to do with you.
I also don't think that they paid a ton of money for anybody outside of Sure 4.
I don't know about Agilities. Do we know numbers on Agilities? Has that been juicified?
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I could imagine that he might have fetched a pretty penny.
I have a feeling it's not as high as you think.
Maybe. Possibly. Is that a little juice? Did you slurp a little juice there? Chug a little jug?
Just a feeling.
Okay. Fair enough.
Is that Coke? Or is that?
Maybe. It's whatever you want it to be.
You mind your own business.
I mean, Coke is sort of like American juice, right? Isn't that?
Is it though?
I think Kool-Aid is American juice.
Yeah.
Oh. I feel like
because it's literally the most nature fruit filled or fruit based flavored thing in the world with literally no fruit in it. That's an American juice right there.
Yeah.
That's an American juice. It's like, what can we call juice but make sure that we don't have to have any farms or orchards?
Yeah. Also comes through the wall with a Tomahawk missile.
Oh, yeah. You're just going to use and abuse that button, aren't you?
It's going to reset itself unless it's saved the profile, and I don't think I'm saving the Star Spangled Banner to the profile. Yeah. Let's talk about the tank line. Beast and Nevix is kind of the rumor right now. So Beast, formerly Beast Halo, man, I mean, it's a big step from contenders to Overwatch League, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, certainly.
I would say probably a question. I mean, it's Fusion University. It's not anything to scoff at, but
I've got serious question marks.
Okay,
because we just don't know.
Okay, I'm not the only one.
We just don't know.
That's one of like 4 times a year that I like go first on saying my opinions on a player. So I'm glad you have the same reservations I do. Okay.
I would be okay. So this hypothesized tank lineup of Beast and Nevix have one common thing, is that we just haven't seen them play in a long time, at least like for a long amount of time, if that makes sense. Like we haven't seen them play at all, and then we haven't seen them play, and when we have seen them play, it's not been for an extended amount of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Beast for me is probably not going to perform as well. I have very low expectations for him. Nevix, on the other hand, I have very high expectations for. But outside of that, I think they're both tied together with I haven't seen you play in a year or more. So it's hard to really give you a fair shake. If anything, I think it's fine. I don't think they're going to super disappoint, but I really don't think this team's going to like jump again. Nothing about this jumps off the page. If we're going to be honest about it, Nevix in the past has been very good. He sounds like he's actually played a pretty pivotal role in San Francisco and challenging Choi. But we haven't seen that. We have not seen that on stage and proven. You know, people can say what they want, but I need to see that on stage before I can really pass judgment. So if we're going to be rational, they'll probably do okay, just, you know, individually compared to the field. But I don't know about this. This one's a bit of a gamble, I'd say.
I feel like we haven't talked about
gamble.
the obvious thing that jumps off the page, which is of course the Roll Star in this lineup that should be good, right? Like, nope. Let's not talk about Karif.
Okay, let's talk about. So we've kind of been going by. We've been going by roll here, but let's talk about. But I do need to say this. I think they need another tank.
Possibly.
I think they need one or the other. One or the other.
Yeah.
I don't like. You don't see tanks be as flexible, I feel like. As like even like DPS, like 4 DPS 2 tanks is like feels like very much the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, let's talk about supports here. Kelix, just breaking news. Bum bum bum. And Kariv. Am I missing anybody?
And Roki as a two-way, I believe.
Roki. Yes. Roki.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
So
We like
Roki
him.
and Kelix, and then Kariv.
Again,
I know Yiska loves Kariv.
I think he loves to hate on the community's perception of Kariv.
Yes, it's not. My beef is not with Karif.
No.
Like I like him actually as a personality. I also think he's okay-ish. I just think
slightly above
this
average.
Guy like
super
sniped
inflated.
the last 2 brain cells of Reddit with 2 sleep dots, and it's over. They're asleep now. So, yeah, I don't hate that. I guess also we're sort of building like a narrative lineup there, right? Like assembling the Canadian Dream Team in some senses. They didn't get everyone, right? But a solid amount. What I don't understand is why don't you go with Crimzo over Karif there? If that was an option, maybe they wanted agilities and they told them they only come in pairs or they die like those birds that, you know, like these inseparables.
If I am discussing these players as a set, you guys ever seen the episode of The Simpsons of the monorail salesman?
No, sir.
The monorail. Oh my god! Somebody culture my co-hosts, please. Anyways,
I'm about to.
First thing I'm saying
about
is,
to call you the B word because you brought up Simpsons.
Dude, I'm just. You did not. So I would do what the monorail salesman does, and say like, they were the top in their division in Overwatch League season 1, and be done. That's easy. The LA Valiant. It doesn't matter when they were on the Valiant. But the Valiant were top in season 1. Monorail.
Yep.
Monorail.
Yep.
Monorail.
I don't know if before we want to talk about the Dallas Fuel Gladiator stuff, obviously we've just got some more news about the midseason tournamente. The prize pools are as follows. The midseason tournament prize pools. First place is $500,000, which is a sizable chunk of change.
All right, you did. Okay.
Here we go.
Second place, $250K. That's quite a lot. And third and fourth are walking away with $150K. So if you just get to the tournament, you get a nice little extra paycheck. So again, not too bad.
So that's as good as getting third in the season playoffs.
That's $1.1 million for this tournament, right? And I believe the the stage playoffs were 100K a piece, right?
I think
so.
Is that right, chat? Fact check that, but I believe that's correct. So stakes have been improved. All Stars 250K prize pool.
Solid.
Season playoffs 1.5. Wasn't that just 1 million before?
I think.
Second place 800K. Third place 5, fourth 3, fifth 2, sixth 2, seventh 1, eighth 1.
I'm okay with this. Paying out to eighth is better than some esports. So granted, it's not a whole heck of a lot, but you know, extra cash and in the budget never hurt nobody. This is great news all around. Glad we can put the beginning of the show probably bump it up a little bit more, you know.
Also for the aspiring Overwatch League player, of course, like what's the dollar? I just did the math for you guys. It's 641 Balenciaga speed trainers that you could buy from the prize winnings of Midseason. So maybe that's an incentive.
It's a lot of shoes. It's a lot of shoes. Wow. A lot of shoes that are very large.
Wow. All right, fair enough.
And very ugly.
All right.
The beholder, I suppose.
This is okay, I think.
Yeah. Good. Again, I'd like to see it extended. I'd like to see, you know, more teams added next year, but I can give Blizzard a break. 1.1 million
to shock. Stage playoffs were 200K for first. So still
I'm okay.
Still it seems like they're upping it about like 20% year over year because of all the money that they're making.
And it's not a constant like, oh, stage playoffs or, oh, cool, stage playoffs. Like that kind of gets a little tiresome, I'd imagine. There's probably some viewer fatigue coming probably towards like stage 3. It's just like, okay, cool. But like one mid-season tournament to kind of, you know, rally morale and viewership, I think is enough. And if anything, probably I'd be interested to see if it's better. But yeah, I like this. This is good all around.
I think my only issue now is that it's only 4 teams.
Yep, same. I'm right there with you. I'd like to see it extended, and that's where I'm going to give Blizzard like a slight pass. I know that this whole thing is being built as it goes. So far, so good. I want to see it improved on next year.
Have they done has there been a prize pool for All Stars?
I want to say so, but I don't think it was very much.
I want to say if it was like 100K, right? Like no.
Let's see.
For All Stars, no, there was absolutely nothing. I don't think. If I remember correctly.
So 250K to like actually care.
I'm okay with that.
Whatever.
Actually try.
All right.
Yeah. A little bit on the table.
It's better than nothing.
100%.
Also, okay, I totally missed that news. Do we know what those 2 wildcard teams will be that get into the mid-season invitational? What they're selected by?
There's not wild cards. There's the first place in Atlantic, first place in Pacific, and then the next 2 teams are based off of record.
The 2 top teams as conference.
So it could be an Atlantic and Pacific team, or it could be 2 Atlantics or 2 Pacific teams.
I see. I see.
Yeah. They don't. We haven't gotten a classification on how they gauge that. Like you know, obviously record. And then probably, I don't know, map differential, and then what else, right? So like there's some ambiguity.
There'll be a
there,
hierarchy. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we do know.
Okay. Hold on. In order to manage logistical requirements for teams around the world, the teams will qualify based on their record over their first 9 matches in the 2020 season. Those teams will play in a single elimination bracket with the top seed picking their opening round opponents.
So that was so that's changed, or at least they clarified the language because initially it was the records at week 10,
right?
Which we had we had the variance between 9 matches played and 12 matches
compared
played.
To 12.
And now it's just your first 9 matches.
So it's just the first 9. It's a little weird.
Oof. It's especially weird. Because there could theoretically be wild variants where like none of the top teams are actually at the midseason invitation because they all lost their next 3 games, while the other ones, like
So is this better or worse? Is this better or worse?
I don't know.
It sounds more fair than win percentage.
Yes,
I think.
I think it's a
more
little convoluted,
fair.
but
I think it's more fair, but there's still room for just like
just general improvements. Like that probably needs to be ironed out.
I'm not gonna whine about it too much on the show.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I can't.
I can't believe they pushed this out just for us. They're like, hey, on Tactical Crouch, they're really going at us. Let's put out an article. So I don't know. You're welcome.
I like it.
Speaking of Tactical Crouches, by the way, Team UK, huh?
Oh yeah,
Team UK, cocky bunch of sons
rough.
of bitches.
A little rough. I think they won one map.
You didn't even get out of the group. Did they get out of group stages?
No.
I don't think they did. And Tactical Crouching the whole way there.
Yeah, they got a prelims, but then in group play they bombed out.
They got out of the pub at 4 a.m.
I don't know. I don't have to say anything except for that's all I need to say. Freedom, my friend. Bald eagles and Coors Light.
Oh no, there's some American juice.
Yeah. Anyways, I really liked your tweet this week, Yiska, about like apparently they're fans of the show.
Yeah,
that was good. All right. I don't know. There's not. I don't see
Dallas
a whole
and Glads.
lot. Throughout the season, we expect Overwatch to receive several game patches. Will take place on the most updated patch, but the rollout of these patches will be somewhat delayed from the actual game of the Overwatch League. To ensure we're able to properly deploy them and to provide teams a window to practice on the new patch before they're asked to compete on it. Okay.
It's fine. All in all, good moves. Solid.
A new
Can't
map
complain.
a new map pool will be used for the postseason.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't hate that, but
Play the lullaby again, Kick Blue. If I wasn't VIPing you right now, I would be banning you. Just saying. All right. Anything else, or can we go through this last team?
last team. Let's go.
Let's go.
Last team, Dallas Fuel trade OGE for Decay.
Yep.
Good job, Dallas. You did it.
That's interesting, right? Especially in terms of what it theoretically communicates. I will say the one that you want to trade off is probably not OGE in terms of talent, because you want to keep guys like him and then trade the others. But it's still interesting. I think Decay didn't pop off as hard as I thought he would before the season. I think I overrated him.
Was he allowed to though? Just being
true.
Just being
I mean, it's a meta thing as well, but yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to expect of him now.
Sure.
And maybe we need to have more measured expectations for him.
I think
which
that's
is
fair.
Like his flexibility hasn't been required as much yet, in terms of the DPS heroes. I will say I don't hate the OGE to Gladiators as well. If he fits that system, just like from a gameplay point of view, as well as like from a social aspect, right? Like depends also on what kind of other players are coming in there. Like the leagues, for instance, said Birdring is landing in at Gladiators. That's just like a lot of wrist issues that you have to fix at once, and that is certainly
a lot of Bengay to buy.
True, yeah. But in terms of Dallas, they have a long way to go if they want to have a say. I think certainly their extensions of their contracts have been short-sighted in season 1 or at the end of season 1, and I would certainly hope that they were able to either pay out one of those players, convert them to a coaching role, just free up roster slots and resources in order to get a more functional team going. Because I think this team is probably still needs to make
more,
at
definitely
least
more
3 moves, but probably more 4 or 5.
100%. I think this starts them on a solid base to build from. I think Gamsu, it feels more lateral to me with OGE now that that's been properly announced.
I don't think it's big. I think it's a slight upgrade. I don't think it's as big of an upgrade as people are making it out to be.
No, not at all. I think mechanically, you could argue it's if not like a slight downgrade, but I think just in general, like leadership, veteran voice in the team that
we don't
kind
have
of
to be running
proven track record.
Their boosting business on the side.
Sure, that too.
It's a lot of extra time.
So Dallas, so far so good. Definitely need more moves, and Gladiators just needs to put out more announcements before I can really give a fair shake.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
We went long on you guys this week. We went real long. We're hitting 2 hours on this show. You're welcome. Hope you had fun. Big thanks again to Eric for the master spreadsheet of goodness. It's so freaking helpful. Keeping everything straight and sending it all to the stream simultaneously. Amazing. So thank you again. Hey, if you're listening to the show, you haven't subbed or gone to Patreon, you're a thief. Just kidding, you're not. It's there for free.
You're a slasher.
We love you anyway. You're a leech. You're a barnacle. No, you're not. Thank you for listening anyway. I really do appreciate it. But if you're like, hey, I'd like to help, I'd like to support you guys a little bit more, sub to the show. Patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. We really appreciate all the support there. No new 5-star iTunes reviews this week, but that's a great free way to support the show. Go to iTunes, leave a 5-star review, and we'll shout you out on the next show. Pretty straightforward and easy. Appreciate it. Joe, shout-outs for the week. Where can people find you?
You follow me on all the social medias at Volamel. That's Volamel. Just got back from BlizzCon. I need to grab some interviews. I won't necessarily speak on who I've got so far, but some World Cup people to kind of pick their brains on. Working on a couple projects of what Overwatch 2 might have looked like if we had a say so. We as in like the community around esports. So working on that. I think that'll be kind of fun to just kind of repackage that just to see what the community might have to say on that. And other than that, yeah, just general writing and content creation. I might decide to stream me learning Warcraft 3. I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, I want to learn too. Can we play together? Is there a thing?
I was talking about at BlizzCon of starting up like a little Discord where we just like train against each other. So
I would just love to. I know nothing about it. Have I told you my Warcraft 3 story?
No.
I wanted to play Warcraft 3. I was like, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years old.
Okay, yeah.
And I would go to Walmart every time with my mom. And they had the scary, you had the I think it was Arthas or human with on the cover art with the blue eyes, or you'd have the really scary looking orc dude.
With the green
Growing
eyes.
up in a conservative Christian family in rural Minnesota, I was not allowed to get those games.
Of the devil.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even that. It was just like, seems a little intense.
Don't know about this.
We have a family laptop.
For sure.
So, anyways, never was able to play it. Always wanted to play it. That was Warcraft 3. And I got into World of Warcraft and I loved it.
Yeah.
And I've actually had my mom play it a few times and she likes it too. So again, hey, progress, right?
Yeah.
But 100%. I've never
100%.
gotten to play it, and I never outside of it, I got to watch a couple friends play it a few times. I think I maybe played like 2-3 games back when I was 12. So I would love to be able to, and I'm in the beta. Got invited ahead of time, and I've downloaded it, and I'm just like, don't know where to start. So yes, let's play together. Let's do that.
For sure.
The family laptop. I know. Don't judge me. Sub right now. Yiska, what about you? Shoutouts for the week. Where can people find you?
I will crush you in Warcraft 3 and claim your firstborns. No, I guess just my Twitter, just seeing what might come up. Weather is really bad in Germany, so I'm staying in anyway. Might as well do some content, I suppose.
All right, cool.
Oh yeah.
As for me, you can find me everywhere at twitch.tv/KickedTripod, twitter.com/KickedTripod, youtube.com/KickedTripod. We post the shows everywhere else. What's so funny?
I don't know. Just KickedTripod.
Sorry. Just
It's
trying to
branding. It's just on. No, it makes sense.
It's called consistency.
That's true.
You just got to jam it into the skulls of people. KickedTripod. I streamed a couple weeks on Mixer for fun.
How'd
to
that
kind of
go?
like, it was cool. It was interesting. I think I'm gonna just kind of go back to Twitch. But I understand the appeal. I think so
Yeah,
far.
for sure.
I get it. And like adding Shroud was cool. Gathalion, obviously Ninja. Courage JD is going to YouTube, and yeah, it's just in the words of Yoda, the Clone Wars have begun, but it's just the streamer platform wars have begun.
It's an interesting time to be in esports and gaming in general on the internet. So
Yeah, it's
looking
fun.
forward to it.
The Mixer stream did look good, but there's nobody in the world who runs the stream like I do. Like actually in the world. And so it's just kind of interesting there. So I don't know. We got to get out of here. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 59 of Tactical Crouch. We're going to be live next week, Tuesday, and maybe we're going to do an extra one. I don't know. Let's do an extra show maybe on Friday. There's so many things. There's so many things going on. Let's do it. We're out of here. See you guys. Short post show.